Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in game number 1 for our second semifinals match. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the yellow Zerg player. Currently teamless, but a really solid North American Zerg. Give it up for game time. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the red Protoss player representing Team Chairs4Gaming. Give it up for PiLiPiLi. Alright, well, we got a PvZ, game has already gotten started. As we can see, natural expansion, everything finishing up, so we skipped kind of the early stage of the game where not a whole lot was happening. Did have relatively, normally timed stuff for everything, nothing super crazy. We didn't have like a 3 hatch before pool or like a Nexus first or anything. Did have a low ground gateway and cyber core coming out from PiLiPiLi, so definitely gearing up for that earlier natural expansion. But going up for a Twilight Council, I will say PiLiPiLi has been loving his adept play. He's been loving going for that kind of stuff. And Fractal Cactyl asking where I got my sweater from. I think I got this sweater from Express, from the clearance section at Express. That's how I shop. You go to like a nice store and then you just go to the clearance section and then just hope that it's cheap enough. And half the time you end up looking at it and you're like, oh god, I can't do this. I need to leave the store now. It's far too expensive. This one was, I think, on a pretty good sale. Anyways, talking a bit more about the PvZ. Sorry, I got distracted. I get really proud of my sweaters. Not many people compliment me on my sweaters, but I really like my sweaters. Adept Resonating Glaives is coming out, though. As I was saying, PiLiPiLi really loves his adept openings. He loves getting damage done with them, and he has kind of that mix-in of he can go for like the massive gateway flood, go up to 7 gateways off of the adept opening and really try and pump him out and do a lot of damage, or he can go for the robotic facility war prism or harassment with the adepts. And based on the fact that he only has 3 gateways out right now, but also no robotics facility, this really makes me curious. I wonder if he just wants to take a fast third, or if he wants to make it look like he's taking a fast third and is about to throw down a big flood of gateways. I feel like it more likely is just going to be the fast third, just because he's still making workers, even if he hasn't gotten his gas guys at the natural expansion. It really does seem like he wants to put on little bits of pressure, warp in a couple of adepts here and there, but for the most part, play this out into a nice macro game. PiLiPiLi is definitely a pretty solid macro player that I think a lot of people have come to respect, and lately he has just been absolutely on fire. He has been doing so well, and these adepts actually taking a pretty decent trade. Even though it looks like they're surrounded, in a sense they're kind of using each other as a big area to as like a giant wall behind them. Like, I got your back if you got my back. Taking out a lot of the Zerglings and doesn't end up actually losing almost any of the adepts. In fact, he doesn't lose any of them at all. Has one that's kind of low on health, but trading out versus all those Zerglings, game time's got to replenish that Zergling count. Has 54 drones, so it's, not sitting at a terrible drone count, but he's definitely going to be losing a couple of them most likely in the incoming engagements over here. Adepts do shade on in over to the 3rd expansion. Drones actually being pulled off the line, trying to fight versus the adepts directly and end up losing quite a few of them. 10 of them have already gone down so far, and all of the Zerglings are also going to end up dying as well. Every single drone almost at that expansion ends up falling. And PiLiPiLi still has the adepts alive. He's going to shade over the natural expansion, get a little bit more damage done. Overlord's clouding over the adepts, making it hard to maybe focus fire down those drones. That's a cute little play over there from Game Time to try and utilize them like that, since they were all sitting over there. But here we go. Now they make their way over the main base. 24 workers left over. GG gets called. PiLiPiLi, just quite frankly, stomps over him. Alright, and I think I actually forgot to set up the player overlay and everything as we got ready to hop into this next series, since we did hop into it relatively quickly. But let's go ahead and get their names up there. We have PiLiPiLi versus Game Time. And currently, PiLiPiLi now sitting up 1-0, 1 game away from moving on to the grand finals, that best of 5 finals for 1st place and 2nd place in the Chairs4Gaming Cup. Game Time, just straight up, it's a little bit hard to say what went wrong. Obviously, if he was playing a little bit greedy, in the sense that he didn't get up a Roach Warren, he didn't get up a lot of these other, he didn't get up a Baling Nest, he he had like a decent number of Zerglings out, but I mean, Zerglings versus Adepts is not the way you want to deal with it. It seems like he just wasn't anticipating that many Adepts to be coming out across the map. I guess due maybe to the fact that PiLiPiLi forewent the robotics facility, there wasn't like a warp prism that he was gonna have to wait around for, invest time and gas into that. He saw that the third expansion was coming up, so just a lot of things, I guess, not really quite as scary. Always ready. Oh, that's so kind of them. All right, bring it into the game now. But just look at this. Game time pauses the game and makes sure you are so kind. Pauses the game to make sure that I was ready to jump to the game. Game time, I am always ready. I am always just waiting around for when the players are ready. So thank you so much, man. Very much appreciate it. So much love to both of these guys. Both of them are actually really hard working and like North American players who actually, they're constantly entering like every single tournament and opportunity that they find. They're immediately jumping on it. They don't actually give up a lot of those opportunities. You can take them for granted or anything. So much love to them. But here we go. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the yellow Zerg player. Of course, one of those players that I am giving much love to, but he definitely needs a little bit more than love. He needs the win. Give it up for game time. And down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the red Protoss player currently playing for Chairs4Gaming. Sitting up 1-0, it's PiLiPiLi. So again, like that last game, I think it was one of those situations where game time got caught very much off guard. This is a pretty different map in the sense that Runes of Endion, you have these rock towers, you can knock them down, you can prevent a lot of those kind of mid-game adept pressures from coming in quite as early, if you so choose to. You can also knock down your opponent's rocks as well. And because of that, a lot of Pro players just opt not to go for those big early game adept openings, and if they do, they'll do it with the robotics facility. They won't do it off of just pure 3 gateways, resonating glaives, go. Like we don't need a warp prism, we don't need local warp-ins. We'll walk across the map. So interested to see how PiLiPiLi is going to handle this. Again, I'm really anticipating that we're going to be seeing something similar where we have a similar style of opening where PiLiPiLi goes for quick third off of 3 gateways, a Twilight Council with resonating glaives being researched, just because that really is a stylistic thing for him. But probably with a robot facility getting out the warp prism, like I was saying. But game time, I really want to know what he was going to do, because that last game, again, like you don't go for the roach warning, you don't have out the roaches in time for the big adept pressure, you don't have out banelings in time for the big adept pressure. You got to get out one of the two. You have to be prepared to get out one of the two, because adept pressure is kind of almost guaranteed to happen a lot of the time with PiLiPiLi. Now granted, there are some games he doesn't go for it, but it's just such a common thing. He's so strong with the adept plays. He's got such a history with them. If you aren't preparing for them, I think that you're making a big mistake. Of course, the other thing that I will say PiLiPiLi may be a little bit well known for is going for those Dark Templar plays, especially as a follow-up to whatever early game tech. Adepts into Dark Templars is definitely something I've seen him go for, and man, does it feel dirty. But we're going to be seeing a Stargate actually coming out over here for PiLiPiLi, so mixing it up a little bit. Going to be going after the photon, or the rocks. Can photon overcharge this pylon if he really needs to. If he scouts out with this adept and says, oh, you're making a lot of speedlings, you're going to make a way across the map, he can immediately photon overcharge, take these rocks out very quickly. Actually, he decides to photon overcharge anyways. I would love to see him kind of hold off on that, save up the energy for a little bit longer, and just say, like, I have vision of whether or not you're moving out. These adepts are going to either pull back your units, or I am going to see your units moving back. But either way, adepts do make their way into the main base. Already getting a decent number of kills. 5 kills so far. Not quite able to make the 6th, but does actually, I believe, get a good amount of vision as well on, like, okay, you have this many guys on gas, you're not actually mining on gas at all anymore. Oh boy, game time. Yeah, you do want to put those guys back on gas, because you want to eventually be able to get up that lair tech. That's a really important part of this. Has a couple of Zergans out with speed that are going to be able to try and knock down these rocks. Mothership Core are going to have something to say about that. But third expansion is also up for game time. So he loses 5 workers. That obviously sucks. That's annoying, but that's kind of the cost of doing business with a player that opens up with adepts. You get to kill the adepts, and they get to kill your drones. So, you win some, you lose some. PiLiPiLi going to be going for some of those Void Rays, it looks like, early on, which is a really weird decision. Is this a follow-up from the Oracle that came out? And of course, that Oracle saw that there were no, in fact, Spore Crawlers out and can just focus fire down a lot of these workers. Already up to going to be 5 kills, going to be able to easily get a 6th and 7th if he decides to go for it. Is going to end up losing the Oracle, maybe, though? Oh, getting so close. Those Queens on creep are so scary when chasing down those Oracles. But still, PiLiPiLi gets a lot of damage done. He's now up in workers, and GameTime doesn't even have his units out just yet. He has 12 Zerglings out, and that's pretty much it. PiLiPiLi gotten up his 3rd expansion. He's going to be able to power both his economy and his units again. This is very similar to one of the earlier games that we saw today, where a Protoss player just says, or even Terran player just says, versus a Zerg player like, yeah, I'm gonna make both units, and I'm also going to power up on my economy. And Zerg players just can't do that. They have to make choices between the two. GameTime is going to be left with a very difficult choice as Lair Tech finishes up, and now what does he do? He's going to throw down his tech, and he's going to say, okay, cool. Sitting on 54, 55-ish workers, I'm just going to try and power up. I'm going to try and play it on a very low worker count and say, like, okay, I've knocked down these rocks. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a little bit of time for my opponent to actually move in and do a lot more pressure, besides just kind of moving around with this Oracle. I have at least a little bit of time bought for myself. I can continue to power up on workers, try to get to a massive enough economy and maybe take a fast 4th. And off of that economy, I can try and power out as many Hydros as possible before my opponent moves across the map with a big push. And I think that just based on how PiLiPiLi is also playing, he's not following up all the aggression that he did or the little bits of harassment with, a big flood of gateway units just charging across the map. He's moving into double robotic facility play. He's getting out double immortals. He's getting up blink. He's getting up upgrades. So one thing that I will say is that GameTime definitely has time. And I think the way that he's kind of decided to play this out is definitely negated the big advantage that PiLiPiLi kind of got with all of those worker kills in the early game. Of course, Oracle going to continue to throw down or get ready to throw down Revelations as the Revelation expires. But just being able to catch, actually taking out a lot of these Zerglings. I mean, the rocks are still going to get knocked down, and he does scout out the Hydralisks that are coming out. So that's going to be useful for PiLiPiLi to find. What was this Void Ray for? This Void Ray, like, just goes around, kills, I think, 1 Overlord, and then just sits over here. I mean, I guess it would have been useful if he was afraid of, like, a big counterattack with roaches or something, but definitely does not end up being the case. So now he just has an awkward Void Ray that just kind of is acting as a quasi-observer over the rocks to make sure they aren't getting knocked down, I guess? I don't know. Maybe it'll be useful when the Lurkers are coming out, as the Lurker Den has been started up. GameTime looking to move into the later stages, since he has a pretty solid economy. Immortal's trying to get a little bit of damage done. The Immortal shields are popped, and PiLiPiLi is able to get out of there without really taking too much more damage. But the rocks are going to get knocked down, and this is going to start to be a little bit of a scary moment over here for PiLiPiLi, who doesn't have a massive army. He's really been playing on a very high-tech army. But, I mean, he still needs some sort of buff where he needs to buy a little bit more time, and he doesn't even have that many warp gates until just now finishes up a decent chunk of them. I think going up from something like 6 or maybe even like 4 or 5 up to 10. Gets a big round of warp-ins on all of those stalkers. GameTime moving around, just I guess seizing control of the map, not really looking to put the pressure on just yet. Just kind of moving around with his Zerglings, taking out depths, shutting down map vision. A couple of these changelings also. Oh, it's changing out the Zalnaga Watchtower. I like that. That's really cute. That's one really easy way to actually grab control of it. But here we go, GameTime now moving around. Big disruptor shot almost hits a lot of those Hydros. Second disruptor shot does get canceled as it gets focus fired down. Third disruptor shot also gets focus fired down. The Immortals are actually going down very quickly. And PiLiPiLi's army is just evaporating under the sheer DPS of these Hydros. Sitting on those +1 missile attack upgrades are working out so well. PiLiPiLi blinking back. He's going to have to cancel this 4th. It's going to be on an all-out retreat. The Pro's being pulled back as well. No Fortune Overcharge is going to be available because guess what? The Mother's Core runs straight in, throws down a Time Warp at the last second, realizing that his life is forfeit. And it looks like GameTime just takes a really good engagement. Killing off those disruptors was so key in that game because, or in this engagement, because PiLiPiLi was relying on those disruptor shots, loses both of his robotics abilities. I feel like that's already way too much damage. PiLiPiLi, even if he trades out fairly well versus these high duelists, I mean, he doesn't have the tech behind this anymore. He has the robotics bay, but it's completely useless without the robotics facility. He's even maybe going to end up losing the Stargate, loses so many of these stalkers, and it's just even going to start losing his economy pretty soon as the reinforcement floods of high duelists start to come on in. Game time. Looks like he may be able to tie up this series 1-1 as PiLiPiLi falls further down supply. Really well done. And again, just that focus firing down on the disruptors works out well for him. GG. Game time takes game number 2. We are going to the ace match, ladies and gentlemen. But with that being said, gonna hop to well, actually, no, we won't hop to a commercial break just yet. It wasn't too long of a game or anything, so we'll try and hop into the next series, and we'll hop to a commercial right before the grand finals, which is going to be a best of 5 between the winner of this series and Kelazur, who is patiently waiting in the grand finals. Of course, the winner of this series is pretty much guaranteed 20 Canadian dollars for second place, and they're going to be shooting for that 60 Canadian dollars for first place. Third, fourth place losers. Or, we'll call them winners. Third, fourth place winners. That's a more positive way of looking at it. Do still get $10 as well. So, Solo still already walked away with $10 after losing to Kelazur. And the loser of this series is also going to walk away with those $10. Always ready. Alright, well, looks like the next map is going to be Frost. We're hopping into it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys on game number 3. It's the ace match. Alright, here we are in the ace match, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 3 between these two players as we spawn up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. The yellow Zerg player. Give it up for game time. Able to do a huge flood in the mid-game with a lot of those high duelists and punish this guy. Up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. The red Protoss player from Chairs4Gaming. Give it up for PiLiPiLi. And I really gotta emphasize that PiLiPiLi has seriously been doing really freaking well. Like, even in the Alima League. Don't know the full results of it just yet because, unfortunately, we do have to cast those games from replays. But was able to beat Gumiho in a best of 3 in the Alima League monthly finals. That was freaking awesome. Of course, that was one of the few games that was broadcasted. Was able to qualify for IM Shanghai. And I think that was like the big moment when he qualified for IM Shanghai. Just something clicked that day. And PiLiPiLi became a different player. He became the player that he's playing the best StarCraft of his life right now. So the fact that Game Time was able to tie up this series 1-1, already looking really promising for Game Time. I mean, beating or going evenly with the up-and-coming player that's dominating and really on fire right now, that's a really good way to also set yourself as the up-and-coming player. But here we go. Frost, one of those maps where, of course, you don't necessarily know where your opponent spawns immediately. Game Time gonna get a sense probably based on the timing of this probe scout, and of course the Overlord gonna confirm it very, very soon as well. But 3 hatch very, very quickly taken over here, not before the pool or anything. But luckily for Game Time, he does actually take this further out third expansion. I really do like more when Zerg players go for these kind of forward third expansions because you're maybe a little bit paranoid. Okay, did my opponent spawn in the bottom left? Am I gonna be expanding toward my opponent? That's actually something that's really interesting to me. He decides to go for the Overlord scout to the top right first with his first Overlord, but he takes the other base. So that's really interesting to me because there's always a chance that if he moves in over the Overlord, he sees nothing. His opponent could spawn in the bottom left or the bottom right. And if he spawns in the bottom right, yeah, you're sure that's fine decision over here. But if he spawns on the bottom left, you're expanding toward your opponent, gets really weird, potentially gets very awkward, or you're just getting so close to them. And even the things like adepts and everything can cause a lot of problems, so. It's kind of weird and interesting decision making from Game Time. Small little things. Not going to play too big of an impact in this game. Here we go, Adept moves on in, shades in, and should be able to get maybe 1 kill so far. Not able to get that second one, as Game Time's able to clean it up. But Stargate gonna be the opening once again from PiLiPiLi. Similar to game number 2, open it up with the Oracle. We'll see if it goes for that weird kind of Void Ray. I almost want to call it like a safety Void Ray that's there for picking off Overlords as well as, I guess, just defending against big roach attacks. I feel like that's gotta be really what it's for. It's defending the roach attacks, but 2 more workers do get killed off. Loses another adept. I mean, not really the most effective adepts this game. Accomplishes small little bits and pieces of damage, but does end up just saying, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna back up. Use it as the part of the wall and make sure those Zerglings don't kind of run rampant or get a big scout out on exactly what's coming out. Of course, Adept should be able to deal with these Zerglings. Zergling's going to be causing a few problems at the pylon, but here we go. Oracle moves on in and is able to get some good, really nice damage done. Already up to 4 kills. Now going after the Queen. That's a bit of a mistake because PiLiPiLi is busy trying to focus on overcharge, trying to micro over at the front. Oh my god, actually, no. The Oracle manages to kill the Queen. That's actually really surprising. I thought the Oracle was already fairly low on health. I actually thought that the Oracle would lose versus the Queen one-on-one if it had already lost most of his shields, but I guess not. Surviving by the skin of his teeth, PiLiPiLi knows a little bit better than I do. Is going to be making Phoenix to follow this up behind this. Keeps that pylon alive and actually has a backup pylon just in case he ends up losing it later on. But we're going to have a fairly big bit of aggression, I think, coming out from PiLiPiLi. As the Phoenixes plus Adepts definitely complement each other quite well. Phoenixes can move in, take out and lift up any of the Queens that would probably cause more problems for the Adepts, as well as also just like taking out any of the Roaches out of the fight for a little bit. The Adepts in the meanwhile can just focus fire down workers. They can take out any of the Zerglings that are around and take out some of the squishier units. So very interested to see when he's going to try and maybe move in with both of those forces while he takes a 3rd expansion. Oracle is still alive as well, so it can move around, get some nice scouting in the main base, throwing down Revelations. So of course the Phoenix is kind of gonna, I guess, make the Revelations a little bit unnecessary at this stage for now, just because he's gonna be moving around and getting a scout off constantly on what exactly GameTime is up to. Sees the layers finished up, doesn't see the Hydro Stand being thrown down just yet, but can probably assume it at this point, seeing as there's no Roaches really out, there's no Baneling's Nest that was actually that came down. And here we go, Adepts coming to the 3rd expansion. Not quite able to get any big worker kills just yet. Killing off the Queen, though, is going to be really nice right before shaying on in over to the natural expansion. Only Zerglings are out once again, though, and this is a really, really big scary moment over here for GameTime. The Hydralisk Den, I do believe, is finished up, but he's not making any Hydrals. He's only making more Zerglings. He's getting a +1 missile attacks, but these Adepts, they do too much. GG. PiLiPiLi takes the series 2-1. Once again, just walks in with his Adepts and wins. I'm really surprised. I mean, yes, those Adepts attacks are coming in, maybe I would say like 15 seconds, like just 15 seconds earlier than I think GameTime is anticipating them. Because 15 seconds later, that's enough time that his Hydralisk Den would have finished up. He wouldn't be making a round of Zerglings, he'd be making a round of Hydralisks. And the Hydralisks, yeah, of course, they do still take a lot of damage to the Adepts and everything, but they deal damage a lot faster to the Adepts. So I think they would have been able to kill them off much faster. And I think that he probably would have been okay, but regardless, PiLiPiLi advances on to the grand finals, is going to face off versus the one and only Kelazor, 2 players that I am huge, huge fans of. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop to a short little break before we get into that grand finals. We'll see you guys there in the grand finals.